Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our live session today. My name is Larissa. I'm an event planner and reactor joining you from Brazil. Before we start, I have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. This session is being recorded and will be available to view on demand here on the Reactor YouTube channel within 48 hours. Keep an eye on the chat. We'll be dropping off links and checking for questions for our presenter to answer. I'll now turn it over to our speaker for today. Thank you, and let's welcome April here.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for our live stream. I'm April Gittens. I'm a principal cloud advocate here at Microsoft on our AI team. This year, for the current iteration of our Microsoft AI tour, we've been doing a brand new talk all around creating AI agents with the AI Toolkit and also with Microsoft Foundry. And today I'm actually bringing to you all the actual hands-on part of that talk so you can get an idea of how to use these two tools together to create your own agents. And so I am hanging out in the chat. I seem to have a little issue with responding in the chat, but anything that I need to send over to you all, I will kindly ask Larissa to share with you. But I do have my eyes on the chat this morning. I see we have some folks tuning in from a couple of different places around the world. I see San Diego's here, Minnesota, the Netherlands, Dallas, Texas, North Carolina, and continue to let me know where you're from. Oh, and I also see India as well. If you have any questions, do put them in the chat. I will be sure to keep an eye on it, and hopefully I can answer that live while here. In the event that I am unable to answer any particular questions while we are live today, there is one place that I really want you to go to make sure that we get those questions answered. If you have not already joined our Microsoft Foundry Discord, highly recommend that you join. Larissa, I'm gonna give you the link for the Discord. If you can share that in the chat, it's not letting me do it right now. But this Discord is where you can come and post questions so that way we can get back to you, whether it's myself, someone from the product team, someone else from our AI team. So definitely do check out that link and join the Discord. And I see that it has been posted there, so join. All right. Without further ado, AI Toolkit, before we start diving into it, if you're not familiar with what the AI Toolkit is, it is a Visual Studio Code extension, and it's actually an extension pack. It comes with the AI Toolkit. There's also the Microsoft Foundry extension that's part of it as well. If you are creating agents and you are looking for an experience in Visual Studio Code that will help accelerate that process, then you absolutely need the AI Toolkit extension. I highly recommend it. There's a variety of models that are available in there that you can choose from, not just our Microsoft Foundry models, but then we also have models available from other names that you may be familiar with, whether it's Anthropic. We have some models from Google that are in there. We also, in addition to that, we have models that can be consumed from Olama and Foundry Local. So if you want to do things with local language models instead, you can bring that as well into the AI Toolkit and create your agents. We're going to be exploring various parts of the AI Toolkit today. We're not going to explore everything in its entirety because there's a lot to do in there, and the team is always adding new features as well. So if you are already an AI Toolkit user, then great. And if you haven't used the AI Toolkit yet, then this is a perfect moment because I'm going to give you a grand tour of what's in there so that way you can start using it as well. In addition to that, we are going to be using Microsoft Foundry models for the agent that we're going to be creating today. With that said, if you're going to try this on your own, you will need to have access to Microsoft Foundry. You'll need a subscription, and that's going to enable you to use the Microsoft Foundry models that we have available. So let's see who else I have here today. I see some more folks chiming in from the chat. Pennsylvania, Kenya. Hi, Julia. Julia is also in my same org. We have Cyprus, Saudi Arabia. Oh, greetings from Yield, Northampton. Hello. Houston, Texas is here. Switzerland. I was just telling a friend yesterday that I want to go to Switzerland at some point. Hopefully, we can get the chance to go next year. Chicago, also Brazil. Hello, hello. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to tell you before we start diving in. I'm sure things will come to mind as we go. Oh, I should probably tell you the scenario. So I mentioned in the beginning that everything I'm going to show you, oh, Atlanta's here. Hello. And again, hello, Netherlands. Okay, so oh, and London. I keep getting distracted by the chat. All right. So I mentioned in the beginning that what I'm showing you today is based on the talk that I created for the Microsoft AI Tour. And in this talk, the scenario is that this fictitious company named Zava, they're a home improvement DIY brand. They have a developer that has been tasked to create an agent that leverages Zava's product catalog. Zava has an assortment of products available, but this agent is designed to help customers find the right products for their DIY project. And so, what the expectation there is that this agent should be able to analyze and process whatever customers throw at it, and then can go through Zava's product catalog to recommend the proper products. I happen to have a custom locally running MCP server that one of my teammates made. Shout out to Dave for that. And that's what we're going to be using today when we connect our agent to an MCP server. Within this MCP server, we do have an assortment of fake products that are in there. There's a lot that's in there. But I share this just in case you decide to try this on your own and you're wondering, like, where are all these products coming from? With that said, let me grab you the link to the repo just so that way you'll have it in the event you want to give this a try. And Larissa, if you can be so kind to share this in the chat for me, please. And I'll see if I can also post in here if it's letting me do it yet. No, it doesn't like for me to come in here and chat. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. It's okay. It's all right. So yeah, we're building his agent. It's going to be using a custom locally running MCP server that's full of Zava products. And what it should be able to do is go through those products and recommend the proper ones for our customer. What information do we actually have on those products? Well, we have the product images, we have the product descriptions, we have the price, and we have an idea of how much are available in stock for the customers as well. So when we start chatting with the agent later on, you might see some of this information and you're like, oh, did it just make this up? Actually, it didn't. It's part of the data that we have available for all the products. And final thing before we kick off is that the agent's name is Kora. Okay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We are going to actually begin over in the Microsoft Foundry. Why are we here? Well, I mentioned that we're going to be using a Foundry model and you need to have a Foundry project created. I already have one created, but I want to make sure that you all are aware of what the setup entails. So that way, if you're trying this on your own, this is what you would need to do. Right now, I'm in the classic Foundry experience. If you didn't hear about the updates we had at Ignite, we now have a new Foundry experience. It's bright and shiny, and I definitely like it. And that's what I recommend starting in. To get there, at the very top of the screen, we have this toggle that says New Foundry. You're going to click that New Foundry. When you click that, you then need to select a project. If you already have a Foundry project created, great, you can choose it from the dropdown. I already have a Foundry project created, so that's what I'm going to end up doing. Someone asks, where is the link? If you have been here for at least probably the past 3 minutes, you should be able to see it in the chat. It came from Microsoft Reactor. It says aka.ms/brk441gh repo. And it's just been reposted again, just in case you can't find it in the chat. So as for this project that we have on screen, if you need a new project, you've never created one, you're brand new to Foundry, then that's cool too, because in here, when you click this drop down, at the very top, you have an option to create a new project. Since I already have one created, I'm not going to create a brand new one, but what I will do is select the one that I already have access to that I've created. So mine happens to be this GitHub Copilot demo one that I've been using. And from there, you'll select Let's Go. I'm going to just minimize. There we go, just a little bit. Okay, this is what you're first going to see when you get in here into the new experience. Even if you didn't have a project already, once it creates the project, this is where you'll land on the welcome screen. On this welcome screen, some very key information in here that you may need. For the sake of this set of stuff we're doing, you actually don't need this information here, but I'd rather you know about it. If you're doing anything directly with code, this is where you can find your project endpoint and your project API key and your project region. Why do I mention this? Well, if you happen to be doing any of our other tutorials in which we call out these specific things that are needed, especially if you're setting up environment variables, this is where you can come and find that information. We've placed it smack dab on the home screen for you. So again, make sure you have your Foundry project created. Once that's been created, we actually then can head over into Visual Studio Code. And so let me bring that up for you. There we go. Okay. We are here in Visual Studio Code. If you are using the repository that was shared, what I will recommend doing is you can do your own fork, clone it as well in VS Code. Make sure you have Docker installed. Because we have everything in a container. Once you have that container running, everything is in there already. And so that'll get you up and ready to start working. I already have that container working, and you may notice at the top of my screen, it says that I'm in the dev container. So once you're in here, there's a couple files that'll be available for use. But right now, let's not worry about those files, because I'm going to take you through everything that we're going to be doing just as the same way as we do it in the talk that we do for the tour. All right. So first thing we need to do is figure out which model do we want to use for this agent. And if you're anything like me, you are probably likely overwhelmed by the total number of models that we have available at our disposal when we're building with AI. It seems like there's new ones every day, right? Now, if you aren't quite sure how to choose your model for whatever that you're building, we have a way for you to get some recommendations directly here in Visual Studio Code, and that's with GitHub Copilot. So GitHub Copilot, if you're unfamiliar, it's like having a pair programmer right here with you. And actually, I just realized my lights are not on. 1 second. Alexa, turn on office lights. There we go. Now we're bright. Okay. So GitHub Copilot's really great if you need an AI coding assistant. What we've done recently is equip a GitHub Copilot with some AI Toolkit tools, and those tools are going to be leveraged by GitHub Copilot in order to help with the agent building process. And you'll see what some of that looks like today as well. So with that said, model recommendations. How do we get an idea which model we need? We can use, like I mentioned, GitHub Copilot. Top right of Visual Studio Code, we have a toggle chat icon. If you select that, it'll open up GitHub Copilot chat window. You have to be in agent mode. Those AI Toolkit tools that I mentioned are available when you are in agent mode. If you don't know how to change agent mode, if you don't even know what agent mode is, that's okay. Agent mode is going to enable GitHub Copilot to actually take action on the files that are within the environment that you're working in. You can change the mode at the bottom left of the screen. Right now, I'm already in agent mode, but if you needed to change it, you can select agent. And then from there, you want to make sure you're using a model that is going to be optimized for using these AI Toolkit tools. There's 5, I believe it is, available that I would recommend using. First one, GPT-5 Mini. The last 4 are all Claude models, and mine happen to be here at the top. There's Claude Haiku 4.5, Claude Opus 4.5, Claude Sonnet 4, and then my personal favorite, Claude Sonnet 4.5. Why is it my favorite? I just use it a lot, honestly, and I've just gotten used to using it. There's no real rhyme or reason to it, but that happens to be the one that I'm going to be using today, just in case you're curious as to which model am I using with GitHub Copilot. Once you have that set, what you can then do is pass in a prompt to GitHub Copilot describing what it is you're building, and you can ask it to recommend models. So right now, what I'm passing in says I'm creating an agent for a home improvement company. The agent uses the company's product catalog via MCP server to recommend the right products for customers based on their DIY project. And which language model should I use? You can give as much information as you deem necessary. I just recommend providing sufficient context so that way GitHub Copilot has an idea of things to consider, like, does the model need vision capabilities, for example? Does it need to be able to enable you to do any sort of like coding, for example? Because all that's going to impact the models that are going to be recommended for what you're building. So I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so we can have some more space. I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we'll see what GitHub Copilot recommends for what we're building. Now, at this point, if you don't already have like your project files created for your agent, that's fine, because GitHub Copilot for this doesn't quite necessarily need it. You can be starting completely blank, fresh, nothing sitting here in VS Code, and it will use the context you've given it in your prompt to help with getting recommendations for models. I personally really love this feature because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of models out there. It's very challenging, at least for me, to keep up with all the ins and outs, pros and cons of all the models that are available. And sometimes we learn about models that we think we should use for everything, but then it turns out it might not be the best model for your particular use case. For the prompts that I am using, absolutely, I can share those. I am going to pass this one to Larissa, and Larissa will put this one into the chat for you all. So that'll be shared shortly. But as I was saying, we just want to make sure that we're not becoming more or less pigeonholed, if you will, into figuring out which model to use. Like how I mentioned, I love using Claude Sonnet 4.5. I would probably recommend expanding outside of that. So let's look at what we have here in terms of a response. So right off the top, I see that we have this Git AI model guidance. What is this? Well, that means that GitHub Copilot has used a tool. And in particular, it's used the Git AI model guidance tool from the AI Toolkit. And with that said, in here, it uses the underlying logic that we have in there to help with recommending models. And so right off the bat, its primary recommendation is GPT 4.1 mini. And then from there, we get an idea of why it's going to be ideal for an agent. I personally like having as much information as possible up front before committing to something like a model because, models cost. So we want to make sure that we're making the right choice, and we want to make sure we're providing the best experience for our end users that are engaging with our model. With that said, this provides a lot of good information. Not only do I have information on what it excels at, I have an idea of things around cost, latency as well, context window, quality. So now we're pulling in benchmark information as well. And then also can see here that it is available on GitHub, which you can use GitHub models within the AI Toolkit. Those are going to be free to start off with, but they are rate limited. So we do recommend at some point that you transition to using a model from one of the various providers who provide models, which then would require a subscription. So beyond GPT 4.1, there's also alternative options that it recommends: 4.1 Nano, and then also just 4.1 if you want maximum quality. And so from here, we then get some information. We then get a recommendation on how we can proceed. We can start with some GitHub models and test things out. And what I actually would recommend doing is that we head over to the model catalog, which is part of the AI Toolkit. Before I do that, the other thing I want to call out here is that the prompt that I've submitted so far is I have already given it. I haven't started my project, for example, and I'm asking it, what sort of model should I use? If you already know a couple of models that you're considering, but you're not sure which one would be best for your given scenario, you can actually submit a prompt to GitHub Copilot with just that information. You can tell it, hey, I'm considering using, X model and Y model and Z model and whatever other model. which one's going to be most ideal for my scenario and why. So you can also use it in that way too. All right, I mentioned a model catalog. So model catalog is a feature in the AI Toolkit. I'm going to bring up the AI Toolkit here. I'm going to close up GitHub Copilot. Thank you very much. You've been lovely. And the model catalog is where you can come and find models. So I see a thank you for setting up the training. Absolutely. All right, so here's the model catalog. We have a variety of models available in here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the screen fully. At the top, we'll have the most popular models that we currently have available. As new models come out, especially a lot of the ones that, probably the wrong way to say it, but like the big name ones that everyone's talking about, the team works very hard to get those models in the toolkit as soon as possible for you all. And so when anyone drops a new model, that's one of the more popular models, give it, I don't want to time box a team, but maybe 24, 48 hours from when it launches, you'll probably likely see it in here as well. If I scroll down here, in the model catalog, we can now start searching for models. We have some filters that are available as well in here. You can also just type in search in the search box, the name of the model that you're thinking about. Within our filters, you can also look through who they're hosted by, for example, and then you can search by filter by publisher, feature. So if you need a model that does something very specific, then you want to just narrow things down. Like if I wanted a model that can do or that can support web search, I can filter for that here. And then we also have model types as well. And then if there's any fine-tune support needed. I happen to already know the models that I need. And so what I would do from here is just go and deploy those models. But when you do click on a model, it will open up the model card for that model. I'll see if this one for GPT-5, for example, so you can get an idea what that looks like. It'll open up to the side here, and it'll have the pertinent information about the model that's in here as well. All right. So as I mentioned, I already know that I want to use GPT 4.1 mini, but if you recall, GitHub Copilot did recommend something else. There was also 4.1 nano, and then also just 4.1. What I can do from here, because I already have 4.1 mini, in terms of how to get to the model catalog, I see that question. So in the toolkit, once you have the toolkit extension installed, which I did not show you how to install that. So let me go back and do that really quick. In the extensions area of Visual Studio Code, you're going to search for AI Toolkit. It'll be hopefully the first option that shows up here. You're going to install that. Once you have that installed within the AI Toolkit blade, let me open that back up. Model catalog is going to be in the section that's under model tools. So it says model catalog right there. All right. So once you have that open, you'll be able to see all the models. Now, I mentioned that I also want to deploy just 4.1 as well. And so to do that, we're going to click Add Model. I'm just going to use this GitHub one. As I mentioned, I know I'm not going to use it going forward, so I'll use this one for now. Where do your models actually show up that you have available? They'll be in this My Resources section. So at the very top of the AI Toolkit, in My Resources, there's a drop down for models. And this is where you'll be able to see all the models that you currently have deployed. I'm just refreshing it so we can get that GitHub model that we just added. And now that's here as well. You are very welcome. I see in the chat. So as you add models, they'll be organized based on the source of the model itself. And so this is where you can come and find that. One other thing that I did not mention is that because we're using a Foundry model, we need to make sure that we are signed in to Foundry as well. That's what's going to enable us to also deploy our Foundry models and use the Foundry models. Sign in is accessible through the Azure resources extension. This extension is going to get installed when you install the AI Toolkit. There will be a button here that says sign in. You'll sign in there, and then your subscription will show up. In that subscription, you're going to do the drop down for it and go to the Microsoft Foundry option. And then you're going to right click on your project. So for mine, it's here, and you're going to click open in Microsoft Foundry extension. That's going to set the default project for you. So apologies for just showing that part. But back to testing out these models in the catalog. Let me see. All right. So again, just a short recap. here within the model section, that's where you can find the actual models that you've deployed. Now, the next thing that I want to do is test these out, and you can test those out in the model playground. I'm going to right click the 4.1 mini one that I already have deployed, and then I'll click load in playground, and I'll just close this up so we can have a bit more space on the screen. Welcome to the model playground in the AI Toolkit. This is where you can come and chat with your models. On the left-hand side is the chat window, so you can submit your prompts to the model. On the right-hand side, we have model preferences, and this is where you can come and define some of the different parameters and information for the model. So you can pass in a system prompt. For example, system prompt is what drives the model behavior. And then if you want to use any of the inference parameters, then you can also send this, you can also set this as well, all right? Now, the next thing that we are going to use, there's a question about, is that the same as the Azure CLI? So that's going to come into play when you are running the actual scripts for your agent, because we will need to use an AZ login command to authenticate and run things. But for now, with respect to that Azure resources extension, that's where you're going to come in to do your sign in. And from there, that's where you can go and select your project. All right. So I want to actually compare more than one model at a time. And to do that, you're going to click this compare button. The compare button lets you choose one additional model to use for comparison. And in this case, I want to use 4.1. And that's that GitHub model that we added earlier. And then you're going to get a change in your UI. We now have two chat windows here. What happened to the system prompt section and the inference parameter section? It's still here. You can find that in this little icon to the left of select model. And when you open that up, that's where you can come in and put in your system prompt. I have a prompt that I'm just going to send in. I'm not even going to define the system prompt, because at this stage, I just want to get an idea of how well does the model do on its own with analyzing what's in an actual image. Why is that important? Well, Zava customers may just upload photos of whatever it is they're trying to do. So like in my case, we're looking at a customer who wants to paint their room. If they don't know what sort of paint finish to use, they might just submit the photo and ask, what paint should I use? And in that case, that's sort of the functionality that we're looking to resolve for. So with that said, I'm going to close up where we would define the model preferences. And then down in one of the chat windows, I'm going to pass in a prompt that says, describe what's in the image, including colors of the objects. Notice that it's also populated on the right-hand side. So I don't have to keep copying, pasting the same thing on each side. So the next thing that I need to do is select an actual image. Because these two models select image input, you'll be able to add the file for an image itself. And from here, I just need to search for it. So give me 1 second to see, where did that go? Image, and I have one here of a living room. All right. This photo of a living room, we'll see it a little better once it appears at the top. But we're going to go ahead and submit this and see how the models do. You can see the image here. It's very simple living room. GPT 4.1 mini is fast. I already have response that's been generated, whereas 4.1 is a little slower. As a customer, you may want to have a response a little quicker if you're chatting with something and you're just trying to get answers. So for that reason, that would be one of the things I would personally consider in choosing the models. However, there might be something that you actually like about 4.1. Maybe you're being super duper cost effective and you're like, you know what? My customers can deal with a little bit of latency. I don't know. I wouldn't do that, but those are the sort of things you want to think about when you're choosing your model. I'm going to go forward with 4.1 mini. However, I like the speed. In terms of the description of how it's described, what's in the actual image, I like that too. So that's going to be the one that we're going to move forward with. All right. I see you all are still with me. I see there's a comment about uploading the recording. Because this is live here on the React to Microsoft channel, you will be able to watch this on demand after the live stream as well. So this will not go away. You can always come back to it at any point. Also, I didn't even mention, We have videos available on the Microsoft Developer channel where I've been going through how to use the AI Toolkit. Let me show you that really quick. So that way you know where to find it. Where is it? Here we go. So it's called Inside Microsoft AI Found or Inside Microsoft Foundry. And Larissa, I'll give you the link so you can put this in the chat. This link is going to take you directly to this playlist that I have here on the screen. Most recently, I did a 6-part video series on using AI Toolkit with GitHub Copilot. So if you want a little bit of a longer session, sort of with me, but not quite with me, but it's still me, and using AI Toolkit and GitHub Copilot, check out this series. And as I mentioned, these were all uploaded a day ago, so these are very, very fresh in terms of in how long ago I posted these. And so do check that out. All right. I keep hopping back and forth because I'm so excited. There's so much to show you all. Okay. So from here, what we now need to do is go create the agent itself. And you can do that in the agent builder. The agent builder is a feature part of the AI toolkit. You can access that in the AI toolkit blade within Agent Builder. So it's agent and workflow tools. When you select that, it'll open up the Agent Builder. I already had a spare version of the model of the agent created just in case, but we're going to create this from scratch today. So that way you have an idea of how to set up your own agents. And so when you're here in the builder, I'll take you through what's happening in here, but we'll first start with creating a brand new agent. You're going to create a brand new agent. You'll give the agent a name. I told you that this agent's name is going to be Kora. Then just below on the left-hand side, this is where you'll select the model that you want to use. I personally want to use that GPT 4.1 mini model, so we're going to select that model. And then in the instructions is where we're going to put the system prompt. So system prompts, I know, can sometimes be a challenge for some folks. I personally, if I'm honest with you, I use AI to help me write my system prompts because while I could probably write something that'll get me almost where I want my agent to be, it's not going to be at the level in which it should be to effectively help out people when it's generating responses. So with that said, I completely get it. System prompts can definitely be a challenge, but the AI Toolkit team has thought of everything because we actually have functionality in here where you can use AI to help you with putting together a system prompt. Within this instruction section, there's a button that says generate. If you click that generate button, what you can do is pass in a description of what the agent is going to do in terms of the task or task with an S that it needs to do. And then we are going to use AI to actually generate a system prompt for you. What I do recommend, however, is that you should 100% review what gets generated. That's with anything with AI. Just review what gets generated for the system prompt. Take out what you don't need, modify what needs to be modified. But this is like a really quick and easy way to get a system prompt created for your agent. I happen to actually have one already. Now, on the flip side, if you happen to say, you know what, April, I have a system prompt that I think is pretty good, but I need a little help with it, that's cool too, because I'm going to show you what happens. For example, I actually already have a system prompt for this agent. I'm going to paste this in here. If you are wondering where can you find this system prompt, that initial repo we shared at the beginning actually has it in here. I'm going to rearrange that repo a little bit today as well. So if you check that back later, you'll be able to easily find things at that point. But this is a system prompt I already have. If I just need a little help with what I already got, you'll notice that this button has now changed because we've added in a system prompt and now we have an improve button. That's going to improve whatever set of instructions you have in here. You just need to describe what you want to change. Once you do that description and click improve, the same thing's going to happen. AI is going to come and help improve that system prompt that you already have in here. So quick recap on that. If you don't have a system prompt, you can use the generate button. If you have one and you just need a little help with modifying it, you can do the improve. All right. The only way you're going to be able to improve is by putting something in that box and then the button changes to improve. All right. So we have our agent name, we have a model, we have instructions as well. And then there's some other things happening I'll go through. what we have here. Just below where we put in the instructions, we have this variable section. And so the variables enables you to swap out different values based on wherever you have a variable in the in the prompt itself. Tools, we're going to get into that very shortly here, but that's where you can go and add tools, whether it's an MCP server, for example. You can do some custom tools in here as well. And then we have this connected agent section. We're not going to get into that today. On the right-hand side, we have the playground, and this is where you can come and chat with the agent. And then we have this evaluation tab, time willing. We will take a look at that as well so you can see what's happening over there. So at this stage, what I have is my agent's been created. I passed in the system prompt to the agent. And then what I'm going to do is now just submit a prompt to it. I didn't add the MCP server yet, so we're very bare bones right now. My prompt that I'm passing in says, here's a photo of my living room. I'm not sure whether I should go with eggshell or semi-gloss. Can you tell which would work better based on lighting and layout? Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and attach my image. If I just go back to where I had that image saved, and we'll see what it outputs this time. So again, not connected to that product catalog that I mentioned earlier. This is just purely going off of what the model's recommending. And so we're seeing that it is recommending, we have an option of using eggshell. We have an option of using semi-gloss as well. And that's pretty much it. Now, these prompts are actually quite long. The system message is quite long, but I know the person that just submitted a comment had asked, could I share those? I will share with you, Larissa, if you can post these two. Here's the first one as prompt to Kora. We'll pass this in. The repo, however, does actually have everything listed in there because Kora's system prompt is quite lengthy. Let me actually show you where you can find that. In the repo, because we deliver this for the AI tour, we provide instruction on how to actually go about doing these. At the very bottom, towards the bottom, you'll see Kora's system prompt. Larissa, I won't have you paste this. That's quite long, but that is where you can come and actually find the system prompt for Kora. All right. So back here in VS Code, as I mentioned, we got an output from the model, but we don't have any product recommendations. And as a customer, I want to know what product should I purchase because I'm on my way over to Zava to purchase some paint. I need to know what paint that I need. So that's where we can go and start adding tools. I mentioned that I already have a custom locally running MCP server that consists of a product catalog of Zava products. And so I do have that running already. What you can do to connect that is going to be down here in this tool section. You'll click the plus button to add a tool. And then from there, you have the option of MCP server and custom tool. When you select MCP server, from there, you can either add something that is that you have running locally. If you want to use one of the MCP servers that's available anywhere in the world, assuming that you have access to it, you can add that in here as well. So here, for example, I have an option of using tools added in Visual Studio Code, or you can use you can browse MCP servers. So I'll just show you what the browse MCP servers is first, because I already know I'm going to go with the first option. But for here, we give you a list of different tools or different MCP servers that you could potentially use. We have like the GitHub one, Playwright's in here, Figma's in here, Notion's here. I mean, there's a lot to choose from, but if you're still like, these aren't the tool, this isn't the MCP server that my agent needs, that's fine. Because at the very bottom, you can also set it up using for the command for the stdio. You can also do connect to a remote HTTP server as well. And so you have some options there, and you can also just manually add the server to the mcp.json file. That's actually what I happen to have done for the one I'm using. So I'm going to select using tools added in VS Code. And then from there, you get a list of all the tools that are currently available in VS Code that you can add. So I don't need all the ones that are here. I really only just need see, it doesn't let me just unselect all. I just need this one that's from Zava, and it's the customer one to get products by name. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now that tool's been added. So adding tools, there's not a lot of steps there. In the event you want to create your own MCP server, you can also do that in the AI Toolkit. And I know we have a question about differences between some of our extensions. I'll get to that in just a second. In the AI Toolkit, if you want to create your own server, you're going to open up the AI Toolkit blade in here, scroll to the bottom where it says MCP workflow, and then create new MCP server. I'm going to tell you what's happening there. When you go to create a brand new MCP server, we're going to give you two templates to choose from. One's in TypeScript, the other one's in Python. I'm a Python girly, so I usually choose the Python one. Once you've selected the template and or your language in that case, you'll need to provide a place to save that MCP server locally. I think the default is like an MCP server folder. And then from there, you need to give the server a name as well. Once you've done that, we're going to open up a brand new window in VS Code for you. Totally fine, because you can still access those agents that you were creating in the other window. Once you're in that brand new window, from there, it's going to, a README is going to pop up that'll tell you how to just set up your environment. It's very, very short steps, y'all. You just need to create a virtual environment. If you're doing it in Python, for example, you need to install the dependencies, and that's it. There's not a lot of setup there. What we have in there is going to be a server.py file. That server.py file is where you can actually go in and add your tools for your server. We give you one that's already set up as an example. So if you're unfamiliar with how to create tools for an MCP server, there's an example that's in there. And then you just are going to follow that. Now, if you are very curious to know how to even do all that, because I literally just only explained it verbally, but I didn't show you how to do it. It's a reason why I didn't, because next week, and I did see that we mentioned it in the chat, we have AI Dev Days. I'm doing a stream there, and joining in the chat will be Wrong from the product team, who'll be there to answer any questions you may have. I take you through how to set that up. But if you can't wait, you're anxious, you want to go build your MCP server now, back to that playlist that I shared earlier. These videos that I have here, actually, if you go to, I think it's the part 3 video, I take you through how to create a custom MCP server in that video. So you can just check that one out if you want to get ahead of the stream, and you can create one there. All right. There's also a repo attached to that as well with the actual files that are used. So if anybody just wants to get ahead, check that out if you want to create a custom MCP server with the AI Toolkit. All right. So back in here, you've added your tool now, and now we just want to check to make sure that this is working appropriately. I'm asking for a link, please. Assuming you're asking for the video playlist, I will reshare that link. Larissa, the aka.ms/insidemf link, can you reshare that one, please, to the chat? And that's how you can get to the videos I just talked about. In the video descriptions is where I put the pertinent links to the repo for the samples. So please look at the description for the videos if you want access to the repos for those particular videos. All right. So, and Atkinson Film Arts, I still see your question. I'm coming to you shortly, don't worry. So in here, now that we have our tool connected, we want to chat to see how it's working. Well, what we can do, we're going to clear this chat, just in case you're wondering how to clear what's already in here. There's at the top right, this button that you'll click to clear the chat. And then from here, we're going to resubmit that same prompt from earlier. And we're going to pass in that photo as well. And what we're going to hope happens is that the agent invokes that tool that we've given it. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and submit that prompt again that says, here's a photo of my living room. I'm not sure whether I should go with eggshell semi-gloss. Can you tell me which would work better based on the lighting and layout? So right now, I got a similar response. I can then say recommend a Zava, let's say eggshell paint. and then let's see if a tool gets invoked. Because of how I have this server running, we'll get this pop-up where you can select to do the tool call itself. If you're creating a custom server, if you're setting up a server in one of the ways I mentioned earlier, this pop-up isn't going to show up. It's just based on how I've set things up here. It'll technically just call the tool without this pop-up. Anyways, we'll click yes here. Once we've clicked yes, we have our tool call that's happening. That shows me that Kora is actually using that server that I mentioned. And then what we should hopefully get is the paint from Zava, their interior eggshell paint. We also got the price. It's $65.67. It says it's well stocked, but if I want to know, well, how much of the eggshell paint from Zava is in stock, we'll see how it does. AI can be a little tricky sometimes. Okay, yeah, it has 9,093 units in stock. I think I can paint a living room with at least one of those gallons of paint. So this is what it looks like in terms of the steps you would take to add a server to your agent that you've created in the AI Toolkit. As for the question with Atkinson Film Arts, which is what is the difference between the agent toolkit, the AI toolkit, the Copilot Studio extension for Visual Studio Code? All right, full disclaimer, I haven't utilized the first and last ones that are mentioned in this list, but what I can tell you with respect to the AI toolkit is this. For the AI toolkit, because it's an extension pack, you're going to get two extensions. You're going to get the AI toolkit and you're going to get the Microsoft Foundry extension. The AI toolkit is going to be platform agnostic. So if you just want to create an agent using any of the models that I showed in the model catalog, and then from there you want to take your agent code and go build for some other platform, you can do that. Totally do that with the AI toolkit. With the Microsoft Foundry extension, with that extension instead, is if you're already committed to building on Foundry, then that's where I would say you go and create your agents in the Foundry extension. That has its own agent designer in there. It deploys the agents to Microsoft Foundry. Whereas here in the agent builder in the AI toolkit, we're not deploying your agent anywhere. We are giving you the code for your agent, and then you can go do whatever you'd like with that code afterwards. And that's actually what I'm going to show you all how to do right now. So if you want to get the code for this agent, down at the very bottom in the agent builder, there's a view code button. You'll click that. And then from here, you can choose your SDK. Microsoft Agent Framework is what I'm going to choose in this case. And then you can choose the languages that'll be available based on the SDK that you chose. And then from there, we'll get the file. So with the AI toolkit, once you get this file, you can use it with your Foundry agents if you want. You can use it with whatever other platform that you're creating agents for. But the really great thing about the AI toolkit is that it provides a really great stepping stone for the creation of your agent. And you can also get the code for your agent as well to continue with iterating on your agent. And then that'll help you as you prepare for deploying and putting your agent in production. With that said, we do give you this code file. In the AI tour talk that I do, once we get this code file, the scenario is that the developer that's responsible for creating Kora has been given the front end files for the agent that's being created. But what's missing is that she doesn't have a lot of time to now figure out how to merge the two together. And so what you could do in that case is use GitHub Copilot again in agent mode to ask it to take this file and then combine it or merge it, if you will, with the front end files. And what that's going to end up doing is helping you build something like what I have here, which is an entire app now for Kora. So I created this Kora app. Initially, I only had the UI set up. And I took one of the generated code files, like literally the one I just showed you. I asked GitHub Copilot if it could merge the two together and give the right functionality. And that's what it's done here. This is currently running. We're going to fingers crossed that it works as we hope. And we're going to test this out. So I am going to, as we've done before, upload that image of the living room. I'm going to pass in a prompt that says, here's a photo of my living room. I'm not sure whether I should go with eggshell or semi-gloss. Can you tell me which would work based on the lighting and the layout? Again, I'm using the code from the agent builder. That same code I just showed you how to generate is what's being used to run this. So when you submit, we'll see what Kora does here. But Kora's working on it. And by the way, completely vibe coded this entire experience that's here. So there's a lot that you can do with GitHub Copilot. So based on what's here, let's see. It can go either way depending on what I'm looking for based on the response. I just want to ask it, recommend a Zava eggshell. You know what? Let's do semi-gloss. We did eggshell last time, semi-gloss paint. And once we've done that, this will indicate that Kora is doing those tool calls, because what we should get is a recommendation specifically for the Zava paint. And yes, that's exactly what we have here. We have the Zava interior semi-gloss paint, and we have the price as well. And we can see that it's currently well stocked. So what we've done, because I talked a lot in the beginning, but within like a very short period of time, we went from prototyping an agent to now migrating that agent that we created into an experience like this. And like I mentioned, this UI was completely vibe coded. I think the day that I created it, maybe it took me 5 minutes total, if not 7 minutes, if I'm being generous, just to make sure things were where they wanted to be and they were the right colors. But you can get started relatively quickly, is the point that I'm trying to make, especially if you're using something like the AI Toolkit. So we see that that's working. This is great. There's one other thing I want to show you while we're here, just to finish this off, and that's going to be, how do we do evaluations? So evaluations are going to be beyond helpful to assess the behavior of your agent, because we'll chat a lot with the agent in something like the playground, but a lot of what typically happens is that we'll gut check how the agent's doing. We don't have a really good, solid, strategic, methodical process in place. And so this is where doing something with evaluations in the AI toolkit, I 100% recommend. In terms of where this UI UX code hosted, it's going to be in that same repo that we shared in the very beginning for the AI tour session. Larissa, if you can please share the one that has the BRK441 GH repo. It's going to be in there. I have instructions in that repo on how to get the UI up and running. And so I did mention earlier that I need to make a couple of updates that I noticed this morning in there. And so by tomorrow morning, all the updates should be pushed to the repo, but you can definitely go in there and go ahead and like check that out. Question on reason for using the MCP for this type of application. Honestly, the reason that we did the MCP for this particular application boiled down to how we were putting together the AI tour talks. There were multiple people who centered their scenarios around Zava, and we needed a very quick and efficient way to have this database of products without standing up a database somewhere that we would potentially have to take down as we continue to create new how do I say this, tenants, if you will, for the way that we're managing our subscriptions internally. So this was out of convenience. That's what I'm trying to say. We did it out of convenience. If you already have a database that you want to use, go that route. You don't have to use an MCP server in that case. There are other tools available in this server that I'm not actually using. And so that would be another reason also why we use this route. Some of the other AI tour sessions may have leveraged some of those other tools. I happen to only use one of the tools in there, and that's the one that gets all the product information. Evaluations, because I want to make sure I get to this before we go. Evaluations are beyond helpful because it's going to give us a way to put some strategy around how we evaluate how our agents are doing. AI Toolkit, you can do evaluations in here. And so what you can do is add in your rows of data. If you don't have any data, that's fine too. And so what you can do instead is click this generate data button. And that's going to actually generate however many rows of data that you ask it to generate. I don't need to generate anything, but it'll give you this section for generating the logic. and you can modify that logic to however you see fit. And then from there, it'll create synthetic data for you. I already have some data I'm going to pass in. One of them is going to be, oh, I already had them here from when I was trying this out yesterday. And for the sake of time, I'll take you through what I have in here. So right now, I have 4 rows of data that I added in. The first query, for example, is what type of organic compost does Zava have? And when I ran this to get the response, I get the original response from the agent. It lets me know that Zava has organic compost 40 pound. And the first thing you can do are manual evaluations. You can do manual evals and AI assisted evals here in the AI Toolkit. The manual evaluations are going to be human done, I guess, because essentially we as the humans can come in and do a thumb up or thumb down as to whether um, the output satisfies whatever criteria that we have. Then we have the AI assisted, and those are going to be the ones on the far right-hand side. The AI assisted ones is leveraging AI to actually assess the output from the agent, and so, or from the model, if you will. And once it has done that assessment, it gives you the scores as well. And so if I were to click on this very first one that we have here, this is what like a full complete readout looks like for one row of data. I can see the evaluation results on the left-hand side. And from there, it just tells me like why it assessed things different way. And then I can also see what the actual outputs were from the model. And so that's how you can use evaluations in with the AI toolkit through the UI. Alternatively, I did mention that in the beginning we talked about using GitHub Copilot. You can actually pass in a prompt to GitHub Copilot if you're not even sure which evaluators you should even use for your agent. And so if I open this back up, even if you don't have a project created, you can pass in a prompt that says, which evaluators do you recommend that I should use to do evaluations for my agent? And if you submit that prompt, then assuming that GitHub Copilot knows about the scenario of what's been created, it'll call the evaluation planner tool from the AI toolkit. It'll let you know what would be like required information to help set up evals, but it'll also consider the scenario and recommend eval. So at the very bottom, based on the home improvement agent, is recommending relevance, coherence, groundedness. So this is a really good way to use GitHub Copilot for getting started with evaluations. Also, if you don't want to do evals in the toolkit, you want to just do evals with code. And let's say that you're doing that because you're setting up evals to continuously run them. Totally fine, because you can submit a prompt that's like, add evaluations to my agent. GitHub Copilot will go through an entire workflow with you, whereas it'll recommend the evaluators. You can choose the evaluators you want. You can also use custom evaluators too. In addition to that, it can also generate data. So I showed you earlier that you can generate data in the AI Toolkit extension, but GitHub Copilot can also generate data for you. So that takes you out of the toolkit experience, but here in a more of a code first approach. And then from there, it'll also run your agent to get the responses, and then it'll create the evaluation script for you. Our evaluations that are being created with GitHub Copilot using the AI Toolkit tools is going to be from the Azure AI Evaluation SDK. So we have an assortment of built-in evaluators. They're the same evaluators that we have available in the AI Toolkit as well. And so once you have that set up, then you can run the file. GitHub Copilot can run it as well if you'd like. But it's just another way that you can go about getting evals done. Next week for AI Dev Days, I actually go through that process of using GitHub Copilot to set up your evaluations. And in that video series that I shared earlier, that is also going to be in video part 6, evaluate agent output. I take you step by step how to set up evals when using GitHub Copilot. I also have a video on how to add tracing to your agent as well. GitHub Copilot is equipped to help you with adding that too. We have what is called a tracing viewer in the AI toolkit that I'll show you really quick just before we get off here. Where's VS Code? So many screens, so many windows. 1 second. There we are. In here, there is, I'm in the container. Right now we have a slight bug with that, but in VS Code, I'll bring my other screen up for you all so you can see it. 1 second. We have a tracing viewer that's here. And this is what that looks like. Oh, nope, there we go. This is what it looks like. You can find it in the agent and workflow tools, and it's called tracing. And then GitHub Copilot can start the collector for you. It'll modify your code as well. And then every time you run your agent, a trace will be collected here. Within here, you can come in and take a look at the trace detail. You can see any tools that might have been called as well. But like I mentioned, join us next week for AI Dev Days. I walk through how to set that up. But again, if you're anxious and you want to say, I want to do this now, April, that's fine, because I have a whole video dedicated to it that's 7 minutes long. The eval one is 22 minutes long. So you can spend a lot of time with me on YouTube learning how to set this up. I know we are just slightly over time. I do appreciate you all for tuning in today. And if you're watching this after the stream has been done, thank you for checking out this session. Couple of things I want to go through, and hopefully I can answer some of the additional questions that we have in here. So Zamana Analytics had asked about, is there a version of the AI Toolkit available in VSX so that VSC clone users can access AI Foundry within their environment? That I don't know the answer to, actually. I'll take that to the product team to see if they do or do not know. But what I will do once the video, once the on-demand video is up for this, I will come back and add that in the comments for you all. Another question is, how about if we have to further train the model with our data? Okay, so from that, you can do some fine tuning. We do have some fine tuning features in the AI Toolkit. There's a couple of folks on my team that have used that. I haven't done much in that area, but let me make sure I'm not lying to you either, because I know we have it in here. Within model tools, there is a fine tuning section, and you can get started with doing that there. As it says, you can create a new project to start fine tuning a base model with your own data. So you can do that right here in the AI Toolkit. All right. So in terms of a question about how is Foundry different, if you can build the same with Copilot Studio, at that point, I would say if you personally feel that both are the same, then it becomes a matter of preference. I haven't necessarily leveraged Copilot Studio, so I can't speak fully into what may or where features may or may not overlap. However, what I will say with the Foundry extension per se is that when we just did an update for that at Ignite, we added in a visual designer in there that you can use. You can still export your code as well for your agent. Any agents that you create in Foundry will show up over in the Foundry extension. You can continue to work on them there. And then as we head into the new year, you'll also see some additional features that'll become available. Any tips optimizing the window tokens on VS Code using the chat agent? Do I have anything I can share there? I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. But if anyone else has any suggestions, do chime in. So there's a question. What is the best way to set up resources in Azure so it works in sync with VS Code for agents? I'm not quite sure what's being asked here. I need some more context. Do come into the Discord server. I'll have Larissa sell the link. Not sell the link. Oh my gosh, we're not selling links. I'll have Larissa post the link again. Larissa, at the very top of our chat, there's a Discord link. If you can post that in there, if you can post that here. For those questions that I did not answer thoroughly today, do come into the Discord server. Myself, the product team, other folks on my team are in there. I want to make sure we get your questions answered. So do post these same questions in there. But I am going to take this question from Atkinson Film Arts and note it as one to follow up on. Oh, and thank you that this was an amazing session. I am glad you're officially hooked. Definitely continue to check out all the updates that we have for the Foundry extension. That inside Microsoft Foundry video playlist I mentioned. I will continue to keep it updated with videos. We are heading into the holiday season. And so I actually, Friday will be my final day of the year, not forever, but of the year. And so I'll be back in the beginning of January. I'll tune in, of course, next week for that AI Dev Day stream. But then after that, I'm away until January. And so January is when you'll see additional videos added to that Inside Microsoft Foundry video playlist that I shared. Um, and then, yeah, Atkinson, for the additional questions, I see you have a question about local inferencing as well. Please bring that over to the Discord because I want to make sure that we get these questions answered, because you can do things with your local models if you're using whether from Olamo or Foundry Local. I may need to bring in one of my teammates, Ken Fei, who does a lot more with working locally to make sure we get you everything you need with respect to doing things locally. All right. So, and is there extension for Visual Studio? Not yet. That is a question we've gotten before. Right now, AI Toolkit's available in Visual Studio Code, but with enough interest, I will definitely continue to share that feedback with our product team to see if that's something that might potentially be on their radar for 2026. All right. I think we're wrapped up. Thanks again for staying, everyone, just slightly over time. I hope that you all get a chance to try out the AI Toolkit. I personally think it's a really great extension for creating your agents. I'll keep it up here again in case you're not sure where to find that. But yeah, continue to check on updates. The team works very hard to add new features in here. If you ever have any issues with the toolkit, there is a link within this within the page for the extension here to go to where you can log issues. And so make sure you share your stuff there. Join the Microsoft Foundry Discord as well. We do AMAs in there as well with the product teams, not just with the AI Toolkit, but across a variety of teams that we have here at Microsoft. And that is your opportunity to come in and chat directly with the PMs that work on maintaining and creating the products that hopefully you all are using. All right. I think it's time that I let you all go and enjoy your, I think it's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah. But yeah, thanks again for hanging out. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, April. Thank you all for joining our live session today. We are always looking to improve our sessions and our experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find the link on the screen or in the chat, and we'll see you on the next one.